Sirens shattered the midnight silence as red strobes flashed across the sky above Rockford Maximum Security Prison. At 12:47 a.m., guards discovered what they thought was a routine alarm, until a quick head count revealed the unthinkable. The most infamous inmate in recent memory was gone. The man convicted of murdering political commentator Charlie Kirk had slipped through the very walls designed to hold the nation's most dangerous criminals. Moments earlier, a lone guard making rounds noticed a faint vibration in the perimeter fence. Within minutes, cameras showed only an empty cell and a bed stuffed with decoys. It was a scene ripped from a thriller: cut wiring, a jammed door sensor, and a neatly timed power flicker that plunged the block into shadow for just 90 critical seconds. That window was all the escapee needed. News traveled faster than the echo of the sirens. By 1 a.m., law enforcement agencies across the state were on high alert. Helicopters roared overhead, searchlights raked the surrounding woods, and roadblocks began springing up like wildfire. Inside the prison, chaos reigned as officers tried to piece together how a convicted killer, monitored around the clock, could vanish into the night. Reporters flooded social media with urgent updates. Charlie Kirk's killer on the run. Public warned to stay indoors. Comment sections exploded with disbelief and fear. Had he bribed a guard? Dug a tunnel? Used inside help? Each theory seemed more outrageous than the last, yet every possibility felt chillingly real. Authorities described the fugitive as highly dangerous and cunning, warning residents to lock their doors and report anything unusual. Meanwhile, the escape scene itself looked like a puzzle left behind to taunt investigators. A single footprint near the service gate, a severed camera cable, and a cryptic message scratched into the cell wall. This isn't over. The next hours would test every level of law enforcement, but one fact was already clear. A man who once shocked the nation with a brutal killing had just shocked it again with an impossible getaway. And as the first rays of dawn crept over the horizon, one question echoed across the country: where is he now? As investigators swarmed Rockford Maximum Security Prison, one reality became impossible to ignore. This escape wasn't a lucky accident. It was a precision operation months in the making. Forensics teams started with the cell. Every inch was scrutinized, from the metal bed frame to the narrow window slit. Hidden behind a loosened vent panel, they discovered a set of improvised tools: a sharpened toothbrush, thin wire, and a small handheld drill fashioned from a stolen motor part. The killer hadn't merely slipped past guards. He had engineered his freedom with meticulous care. Security logs told an even more disturbing story. 3 separate maintenance requests for the cell block's electrical grid had been filed over the past 2 weeks, each closing out with a guard's signature. Yet none of those guards remembered authorizing repairs. Investigators now suspect forged paperwork was used to schedule power interruptions, creating those crucial blackout moments. Equally chilling was the discovery of a hacked surveillance feed. Analysts reviewing the prison's internal network found evidence that cameras in the West Wing were looped to show still images for several minutes, enough to mask movement. That level of digital intrusion suggested outside help, possibly someone with insider knowledge or technical expertise well beyond the fugitive's supposed abilities. How did he get the resources? Early theories point to a black market pipeline within the prison itself: corrupt staff, smuggled cell phones, and encrypted messaging apps. Inmates whispered of late-night deliveries and guards who looked the other way in exchange for thick envelopes of cash. Nothing was confirmed, but the pattern was undeniable. This escape had the fingerprints of a well-funded support network. Detectives also uncovered a series of cryptic letters hidden in library books, written in a cipher based on classic literature references. When decrypted, the letters hinted at a storm breaking free and freedom in the quiet hour. Clues now believed to be part of a secret communication with accomplices outside the prison walls. As these revelations surfaced, the public's anxiety deepened. This was no desperate dash by a cornered man. It was a calculated strike against the system itself. Each new clue painted the picture of a fugitive who had anticipated every lock, every camera angle, every human weakness, turning what should have been an impenetrable fortress into his personal exit strategy. And while investigators raced to connect the dots, the killer was already miles away, leaving behind only questions, and a chilling sense that the real plan might not even be finished. By dawn, the prison perimeter looked like the staging ground for a military operation. State troopers sealed every road within a 50-mile radius, while drones buzzed over thick woods and farmland. Helicopters swept low, their searchlights carving pale circles through morning fog. The wail of sirens became a constant soundtrack as Rockford County transformed into the epicenter of one of the largest manhunts in recent memory. Law enforcement agencies at every level mobilized. The FBI, U.S. Marshals, and state police set up a unified command post in a nearby high school gymnasium, its bleachers now lined with laptops, radios, and giant maps marked with red pins. Briefings happened on the hour. Teams in tactical gear fanned out through abandoned barns, drainage tunnels, and highway rest stops. Sniffer dogs combed railroad tracks while divers checked rivers and culverts. Within hours, tips poured in, some credible, most chaotic. A truck driver swore he'd seen a man matching the fugitive's description hitchhiking near an interstate exit. A farmer reported footprints along a creek bed that disappeared into thick reeds. Each lead sent squads scrambling, only to find empty clearings or the faded tracks of a raccoon. Meanwhile, digital forensics experts scoured phone records and social media chatter. One alarming discovery: an encrypted message posted to a fringe forum only minutes after the escape, reading, "The storm moves east." Whether it was a taunt from the killer or an online hoax, investigators couldn't ignore it. Public alerts flooded every channel. Highway billboards flashed the fugitive's face. Amber-style emergency notifications buzzed on cell phones statewide. Dangerous escaped convict. Stay indoors. Report suspicious activity immediately. Local residents double-locked doors and kept children home from school. Small-town diners emptied as rumors swirled of sightings in every direction. At an afternoon press conference, the governor described the escapee as armed, unpredictable, and desperate, offering a $250,000 reward for information leading to capture. Reporters fired rapid-fire questions about possible accomplices and prison corruption, but officials kept their answers clipped. Despite the overwhelming show of force, one fact gnawed at investigators. Every hour the fugitive stayed free widened his lead. With access to stolen cash or hidden allies, he could already be far beyond the search perimeter. As night fell again over Rockford County, the manhunt's urgency sharpened. Helicopters returned to the air, searchlights sweeping across darkened fields. Somewhere out there, Charlie Kirk's convicted killer was on the move, and the clock was ticking. As the manhunt stretched into its second day, the nation's attention locked onto the unfolding drama. Every major network interrupted regular programming with urgent updates. Headlines screamed, "Killer still at large," while hashtags like #prison break and Charlie Kirk escape dominated social media. Millions tuned into live streams of police press conferences, watching in real time as helicopters crisscrossed the sky. For many, the escape reopened old wounds. Charlie Kirk's supporters gathered outside government buildings, holding candles and signs reading, "Justice must prevail." His family released a short statement expressing shock and fear, urging authorities to capture this violent criminal before another tragedy occurs. Political commentators from across the spectrum debated whether this brazen breakout signaled deep failures in the justice system or a chilling escalation in anti-establishment violence. Local residents near Rockford felt the tension most acutely. Grocery stores reported spikes in bottled water and flashlight sales as people prepared for the possibility of a long manhunt. Parents kept children home from playgrounds, and neighborhood watch groups organized late-night patrols. Some residents slept with hunting rifles within reach, while others evacuated to stay with relatives in neighboring towns. Law enforcement officials faced mounting criticism. How had a convicted murderer, already under heightened surveillance, managed to outwit a maximum security prison? At a heated town hall meeting, citizens demanded answers. "If he can break out, what about the other inmates?" one resident shouted. Commentators pointed to systemic issues, understaffed shifts, outdated technology, and the lure of bribery as likely culprits. Editorials in major newspapers called for sweeping reforms and independent investigations. Former prison officials warned that the escape might embolden other inmates or inspire copycat attempts. Meanwhile, conspiracy theories flourished online. Some claimed the breakout was staged to distract from political scandals. Others insisted the fugitive had government connections or was aided by a shadowy network. Videos dissecting grainy surveillance footage racked up millions of views, each frame analyzed as if it held the key to the mystery. Through it all, a shared unease rippled across the country. The idea that someone convicted of a high-profile killing could walk free challenged people's sense of safety and trust in the system. And with every hour that passed without capture, that unease deepened into something darker. A fear that this escape wasn't just a local failure, but a national crisis waiting for its next shocking twist. By the third day of the escape, tension across the country had hardened into a wary vigilance. Law enforcement officials admitted the trail was cold but not dead, signaling a difficult hunt ahead. While helicopters still scoured the countryside, investigators widened their focus, convinced the fugitive might already have crossed state lines, or even the national border. Authorities outlined several possible scenarios. The first and most immediate fear: the killer could be hiding in plain sight, blending into a crowded city using a stolen identity. With a shaved head, dyed hair, and access to black market documents, he could slip through airports or bus terminals undetected. U.S. Marshals circulated an updated, digitally aged rendering to border checkpoints and transit hubs from Miami to Seattle. Another scenario centered on a suspected network of accomplices. Investigators followed financial trails, flagging recent large cash withdrawals and unusual cryptocurrency transfers. They speculated that sympathizers or hired fixers might provide safe houses, food, and vehicles. Anonymous tips hinted at a remote cabin deep in the Appalachian foothills, an ideal hideout with endless back roads and minimal cell coverage. International flight remained a chilling possibility. Homeland Security quietly coordinated with Interpol, focusing on ports, marinas, and private airfields. Agents acknowledged that if the fugitive reached a country without a strong extradition treaty, capturing him could take years. In response to public outrage, the Department of Justice announced an independent review of Rockford Prison's security failures. Early findings pointed to a combination of outdated surveillance software, staffing shortages, and possible inside corruption, gaps that the escapee had ruthlessly exploited. Federal officials promised sweeping reforms, from biometric checkpoints to AI-driven camera systems. Yet even as reforms were debated, the killer's whereabouts remained the burning question. Nightly news programs ended their broadcasts with his photo and a bold warning: "Do not approach, considered armed and dangerous." For Charlie Kirk's family, each passing hour brought a cruel mix of dread and determination. In a heartfelt televised plea, his sister implored, "Someone out there knows something. Please, come forward before another life is lost." The next 48 hours, experts said, would be decisive. Would the fugitive make a fatal mistake, or had he already vanished into a carefully planned new life? With the nation watching and the reward climbing, the chase was far from over, and the specter of another shocking headline loomed with every ticking second.